drop it like I'm in a dunk tank. All right, power panel. Nomi, Prins, Cenk, Uygur, Iadarola with you guys. Today's special, fantastic Friday. We've been doing a number of things that you guys have asked us to do, and it is part of our Win-Win Friday. That's aspiration.com/TYT. We've been promoting it all day and having fun doing that. So if you missed it from earlier, we are going to replay some of those for you, competitions that we had earlier. For you guys, we'll have a lot of it, all of it up on TYT.com as soon as we can. But we have a special game show today in the 5 o'clock hour, which we don't normally have on Fridays. That's the 8 o'clock Eastern. And on top of that, I think we're gonna replay some of the competitions Anna and I had. Look, if you did see them, don't pull a Game of Thrones spoiler, okay? Don't tell people who won the contest. Let them watch it for themselves at the end of the show.
And if you see a spoiler, bear in mind that a lot of what you read online is lies. So
that's a good point. Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake comments.
Fake comments.
Yeah, I'll tell you ahead of time, whatever you see, it's already fake news. Okay, and so sign up for an account. Also, aspiration.com/TYT. And I think that if we hit certain numbers, we're gonna do other weird things for you guys. So tune back in for that and we'll have more. All right, meanwhile, on the serious stuff about whether we're going to have war with Iran or not.
Oh yeah, okay. For some reason I thought there was gonna be more. Donald Trump apparently took us right to the brink of war with Iran last night before deciding at the last second, maybe not today. Maybe not today either, but the day is not done. So this is what the reporting was this morning. President Trump approved military strikes against Iran in retaliation for downing an American surveillance drone, but pulled back from launching them on Thursday night after a day of escalating tensions. Planes were in the air and ships were in position, but no missiles had been fired when word came to stand down. Donald Trump added something like context in a tweet storm saying, on Monday they shot down an unmanned drone flying in international waters. We were cocked and loaded to retaliate last night on 3 different sites, spelled incorrectly. When I asked how many will die, 150 people, sir, was the answer from a general. This is the president of the United States. 10 minutes before the strike, I stopped it, not proportionate to shooting down an unmanned drone. I am in no hurry. Our capital M military is rebuilt, new and ready to go, by far the best in the world. Sanctions are biting and more added last night. Iran can never have nuclear capitalized weapons capitalized, not against the USA, not against the world. It's a consistent position he has, which is why he took us out of a treaty that was stopping them from developing nuclear weapons.
Yes, so I have a number of bones to pick, as everybody does, as usual. I don't think you should probably be talking about foreign policy in this level of detail in a tweet, let alone the mistakes, etc. I obviously agree 1000% with John that shouldn't have gotten us out of the treaty in the first place, and we wouldn't have this problem. Having said all that, I'm pretty ecstatic about this. I think this is probably the best decision Donald Trump has made in his presidency. And I don't really care too much about the veracity of the timeline of whether it was in 10 minutes to go or not, and when they told him. We'll just get into all those details anyway in a second. But I also like his reasoning, whether it's true or untrue. Hey, 150 people dying because they hit a drone is disproportionate. The fact that we remember whatever Trump says becomes Republican orthodoxy immediately. So I guess now the Republican Party, at least the voters and the base, thinks, oh yeah, you shouldn't use disproportionate force on another country. Great, wonderful, I'll take it.
I totally agree. It's good that we're not having a war tonight. I think that's a good thing, and however Trump got to that. But the concern that I have is with everything that he does is that you cannot actually rely on it. So my concern is that he'll just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh wait a minute, it's 150. Well, what does that look like to me from a re-election perspective? I mean, I don't know, but I think it is good. We should not have gotten out of the treaty to begin with. He is consistent in being inconsistent and erratic, but that remains my concern about him.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I don't understand. Literally the only reason he could make the choice to not strike Iran was because hours earlier he'd made the choice to strike Iran.
Right.
The only reason there were tensions in the air is because he and John Bolton and others in his administration are fomenting them. The only reason the drone was either directly over Iran or close to it was because they put it there so that they could justify some sort of conflict. The only reason that any of this is here is because he pulled out of the deal. They said they pulled out of the treaty because the treaty wouldn't stop them from getting nuclear weapons. I don't believe that at all. They pulled out of the treaty because the treaty was stopping them from working to develop nuclear weapons, which provided no justification to invade them. Get rid of the treaty, maybe they start to develop it, and that gives you an opening to attack them. All of this is their creation, and him deciding at the last second not to do it is an invented, manufactured, as it says down here, situation that he put together. I don't want us to go to war, but I'm gonna give him basically no credit for not doing what he decided to do earlier.
Yeah, so John, you're both completely right and totally wrong at the same time. So on the facts, you're right. So for example, the Special Olympics, he did the same exact trick. You know what, I'm gonna take away all the money from Special Olympics. Yeah, you know what, that didn't play well. I'm putting it back, I'm putting it back. I'm the greatest person to ever deal with Special Olympics because I put the money back in, which I had earlier stolen, right? So
that's sort of what I'm saying. Yes.
No, yeah, exactly. Right. So I get it, and I'm agreeing with you on that front. And we can get into an argument about whether he deserves credit for pulling the strikes back in history, right, at a later date. But today, the part that I don't agree with you on is I hear you, but nonetheless, the Republican Party is at best 50-50. No, it's probably 85% yes, go to war with Iran, only 15% no.
You say the elected officials.
The elected officials, not the voters. No, the voters don't want to go to war either, right? And again, I'm not a guy who's soft on the Republican base. Everybody on TV is like, oh, you can't insult Republican voters. No, I insult them all the time, okay? But on this, they're generally correct. They don't, and they're also correct on getting money out of politics. They don't like the war. They don't like the corruption. They're correct on those things. So, but Republican officials, they're desperate to go to war. So when you have the president being an outlier in his own party, and the 15% that are saying no, I don't give a damn if he turned it around a second before they launched the missiles, right? And I know he's a child. He went on to brag. He's like, oh, you know, it was me who made the decision. It was a command decision. Of course, you're the commander-in-chief. You're the president and commander-in-chief. Who else do you think is going to make the decisions? Okay.
But do you trust that that's going to be what he continues to? That's his path, or that something else is going to piss him off and he's going to retract what he retracted that he shouldn't have done to begin with?
Okay, so all great questions. Am I worried that he's going to flip-flop? Of course, he changes his mind every second, depending on whether it's Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity talking to him. Literally in this case, Hannity wants to go to war, Tucker Carlson doesn't want to go to war. That's why he's like, let's bomb Iran. Forget it, don't bomb Iran. Because I got a call from Tucker after I got a call from Hannity, right? And so, but guys, look at the precarious position we're in. If we hit Iran, they will definitely hit us back. And when they hit us back, then of course everybody will then say, we got to show resolve, we got to show stomach for the fight, and I can't believe it, etc. And there's a very important wrinkle here that I want to get to in a second. So when all that happens, we're going to go to war. And when we go to war, we're going to lose a ton of soldiers. So we're going to lose a lot of American lives. We're going to have tens of thousands of casualties eventually, the wounded, etc. Well, God knows how many hundreds of thousands of Iranians we're going to kill, innocent civilians. And the costs are going to be in the trillions of dollars. And then they're going to say, we can't pay for your kid's college. We can't pay for your kid's cancer because I spent all the money on John Bolton's war in Iran. So in a situation that precarious, under any circumstance that Trump, the flighty, mercurial Trump, man-child, makes the correct decision, we should all be going, yes, yes. Keep going in that direction. Way to be a bold leader, way to be commander-in-chief. So later we can debate whether he gets a certain percentage of credit or not once he's out of office. But we're this close to war.
I get what you're saying. I'm going to work my butt off so that someday I don't have to live in a country where we have to talk to our president as if we're training a puppy, effectively. And thankfully we didn't go to war with North Korea. We didn't overthrow the leadership of Venezuela. Only because in those situations, he either developed a bizarre friendship with a dictator, and as of reporting yesterday with Venezuela, he got bored. and he moved on. And now, maybe no Iran, maybe Iran. I don't want to be put in that position. The only way we got even close to those 3 conflicts is because Donald Trump won in 2016 and decided to surround himself with warmongers like John Bolton, like we were predicting that he would. Yeah. And so I get what you're saying about pragmatically or strategically trying to influence him, but I can also see what he's doing. And really fast, in terms of the credit, some people online are giving him credit, literal credit for saving lives. Now, granted, these are some pretty dim people. These are conspiracy theorists, but they're very influential on the right. So Bill Mitchell tweeted, President Trump was ready to strike 3 Iranian targets last night. He was informed this would cost 150 Iranian lives and called off the attack because 1 drone was not worth 150 lives. That's leadership.
I'm telling you, John, I want to encourage that, man.
I guess, but how stupid is that? That he apparently authorized a strike on a country and didn't think to ask how many people would die until hours had passed.
Right, beforehand.
You authorized it without knowing what would happen? Right. That does not reassure me. That scares the hell out of me.
No, John, if you're gonna break down the details, of course you're gonna be right, okay?
That's the whole point of the damage report and my contribution to the show. So I will break everything down until I'm right.
Okay, no, guys, think about it. It didn't occur to him to ask how many people were going to die until 10. While the New York Times reports the planes were in the air till 10 minutes, according to Trump's version of it, and the New York Times reporting of it, 10 minutes before the strike, it hadn't occurred to him how many people were going to die, how many civilians were going to die or non-civilians were going to die, and he's like, wait a minute, what happens when a bomb lands? Right? People die. Yeah, that's what happens when a bomb lands. But again, I'll take it.
But again, he also completely ignored the rest of the world, and this is sort of a part of the whole sort of psychosis of just how he acts. But everyone in Europe was like backing away from any possibility of like having a conversation about it. They were effectively letting him know that this would be a really dumb thing to do. That did not stir him. The fact that the entire rest of the world, who actually did not, who actually supported staying in the Iranian agreement, decided to basically signal they're not going to be in this war if this war happens. That did not change his mind. That was insignificant in this whole chain of, I don't want to say thought, but like whatever the electrons
actions and inactions, right? So let me give a little bit more detail than that, and then give you the really important other point here. So right now, as it stands, none of the European nations are supporting dropping a bomb on Iran, attacking Iran, any of that stuff. So the only allies we would have if we went to war are United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. That's it. It's those 4, including half the Trump administration, versus all of the rest of the world saying, no, that doesn't make any sense. Don't do that, okay? So, and now the very, very important wrinkle. It turns out the Iranians shot down a drone, but according to reporting, there was a second plane that entered their waters that they did not shoot down. And that was a plane with 35 Americans on it, a military plane. If they had shot it down, we'd already be in the middle of a war. So that if the reporting is correct, the Iranians showed excellent restraint. So thank God they did. They're not showing restraint now. They're still, after Trump pulled back the missiles, they're yelling at him and said, oh yeah, we're gonna get you. I'm like, shush, shush. You almost all got killed, you idiots, and got your civilians killed for no reason. Shut up already. But good restraint on not shooting down the ship that had people in it. But most importantly, that means somebody in the Trump administration, probably without asking Trump because he's not in favor of it. I don't know if it was Bolton or Pompeo or someone at the Pentagon or a combination of all of those people, said, let's go risk those American service members' lives and hope that they get shot down and murdered so that we can go to war. That is a sick calculation. They should figure out who the hell gave the order to have 35 of those guys die in order to start this war. Thank God the Iranians didn't shoot. But if they had, they were willing to sacrifice those guys' lives. If you were on that plane, you should be furious that they used you for fodder like that.
Yeah, if someone could tweet Ken Klippenstein to FOIA them, let's find out who authorized that. And the last point I want to make on it is, overall, my goal is no war with Iran, no war with Venezuela, no war with North Korea, no war at all. And the way to get that is not to just hope that we're gonna get through another day without Donald Trump launching one. It's to get him out of office. And so there's no necessary reason to tie this into the frustrations that we have with Democratic leadership, but Nancy Pelosi's strategy of maybe he committed impeachable offenses, but we're gonna wait a year and a half and leave it up to the voters. That is not a strategy without a cost. That is a strategy whose cost is every single day hoping that one of the most tempestuous, petulant people in our country decides not to follow their whims into a war with Iran or God knows what other country. That is the situation that we have to deal with every day because she and others around her have made the decision that we're gonna take our constitutional responsibility and we're gonna throw it to the people in a year and a half, and he can do whatever he wants until then.
And just a fun note to end on here. John mentioned our senior investigative reporter, Ken Klippenstein. The FBI apparently has him on a list of the people who ask for most freedom of information requests. And so that's how you do real journalism. You get documents that you have the rights to get to. And they have him on a top 10 vex him list. They're vexed, very, very vexed by Ken Klippenstein. Yeah. That is a list that I love that we are on, that Ken got TYT on in some sense.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, you guys funded our investigative reporters, so way to go. You have vexed the FBI.
Yeah. Vexed them greatly.
Nicely done.
Why don't we take our first break before we come back with some of the effort to push him into war?
All right, that sounds good, including Fox News hosts. Yes, they're split, but it's a lot of things are inverted. Some of the good guys are bad guys, some of the bad guys are good guys. It's fascinating and it's a mess. But we are going to be winning with that mess when we come back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back on the Young Turks. On Twitter, Greg Van Neet writes in, if Trump made a point of saying it was his decision, that tells me someone, and he put Putin, ? Told him to back off. That is interesting. Maybe. I don't know about Putin. I'm saying maybe someone told him, and that's why he's saying it was me, right? It's a good point, but on the other hand, he also did this with Air Force One, where he was like, it was me who picked the colors. It was me.
He said the design of the wall.
Yeah.
I think that he sees re-election perversely as lying in some sort of conflict with Iran, and I think he wants to drag it out longer.
Yeah, all right. So the Beard writes in, hey Cenk, can you, John, and Nomi wish my wife a happy birthday? I told her I would try to get her favorite news source to wish her a happy birthday live. Her name is Jessica Beard, and it would mean the world to her if you could do her this favor. Jessica Beard, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Jessica. That's awesome.
Okay, and then Stuart says, Nomi Prince, this is perfect. I just bought Collusion on audiobook for my summer road trip.
Oh, thank you. That's a great audio too.
All right, check out Collusion and the 88 other books that Nomi wrote that are all brilliant. Last one, JR Wax in the member section says, I'm on team win-win now, Cenk. I like the sound of divesting my money from big banks because they're investing in everything I hate. Yeah. So speaking of which, we've been doing this day-long event for aspiration.com/TYT. Now, if we get to, we just made up an arbitrary goal right now. We're at about 80 signups. If we get to 200 signups, what we're gonna do is give you guys extra, including me maybe getting dunked in a dunk tank, okay? So that's gonna be at the end of the 2-hour show. There's gonna be a game show, and then we're gonna see if that happens. And there's other things like JR's gonna eat really spicy wings. Jesus might get a neck tattoo, the crazy stuff. So make us do crazy things. And signing up actually takes a very little amount of time. It's totally peace of mind because they're not putting your money in terrible places. Plus, you get the best rates and no fees if you don't want them. So it is a win-win for everybody. That's why he's on team win-win. Aspiration.com/TYT. It's actually very quick to do. Do it during one of the breaks, or you could do it if you got 2 screens right now. And if we get to 200, we'll do more embarrassing things.
So I just want to say on that, it is really fast because I was on a train the other day when I signed up for Aspiration. It took me 2 minutes and 58 seconds for the beginning of the sign up. Actually, even getting the wireless to work, the beginning of the sign up to actually getting signed up and getting like a welcome to Aspiration email. So it's literally the most technologically friendly bank as well as a socially responsible bank ever.
All
It
right.
really is. It's fast. Super
Awesome.
fast.
Yep. So God bless. Let's make that happen. All right, John. What's next?
Okay. Fox News is hot for war with Iran. They want it bad, and remember, that is what Donald Trump watches. So what they say does matter. And since last night, those drums of war have been beating. We're gonna show you a couple different hosts from last night and throughout today on Fox News. We're gonna start though with Sean Hannity, who's on one when it comes to Iran, as you'll see.
In coming days, we will know if the Muellers are smart enough to take the opportunity, which is a small window. It may not even exist within 5 minutes. Because if they don't, the president will have no choice. He will bomb the hell out of them. No need for a long, protracted, boots on the ground kind of war. We have the greatest military, thank God, on the face of this earth. We have the most advanced weapon systems, and a strong message needs to be sent that a huge price will be paid if you take on the United States of America. Simple peace through strength, and it works.
Simple. That's the good thing about it. That million-person military that they have, you just bomb it for a day or two and you get everything that you want.
Because that's worked so well in all our other recent wars.
Yeah. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and they have a very capable military, not only in fighting a traditional war where we would obviously have a massive advantage, but in fighting a guerrilla war. And they have Hezbollah and Lebanon that could strike different targets, including Israel. They have funded Hamas in the past, and they have a very capable Revolutionary Guard and a network of spies and people in their military ready to deploy all across the Middle East and all across the world. Yeah. So this insane idea of, we just bombed them. We don't even need boots on the ground. And what do you think happens next, Sean? You think they just surrender? Is that what happened in Iraq? Why did we stay there a dozen years? Why are we still in Afghanistan? What happened? You always said these are all simple. Why doesn't anybody ever say, now for Sean Hannity, everybody knows he's full of crap, but there's plenty of Republican senators and administration officials who say similar things. They go on TV and nobody ever challenges on them. Hey, Lindsey Graham, you said Iraq would be easy. And Iraq was an absolute unmitigated disaster.
Remains so.
And so doesn't that prove that you're an idiot and that you should not be trusted in any of these conversations? And hey, Lindsey, and all of you Republicans, Sean Hannity, how are you gonna pay for that? How are you gonna pay for a tremendous war? Iraq costs at least $2 trillion. What are you gonna take out of the budget? Hey, you know what? The tax cuts for the rich cost $2 trillion. You wanna bring those back? Do we have a deal? The rich give the $2 trillion back, and then we could have a conversation about you bombing Iran. Now, I wouldn't take that deal anyway, but you know what would happen with Hannity? No, not the tax cuts for the rich. Not that, not my beloved rich tax cuts. No way, right? Oh, you see, it's not cost free. And so please, look, even if you're a right winger, you know that what Hannity said is total idiocy. You know what happened in Iraq, you know what happened in Afghanistan, you know what happened in Vietnam. This idea of, we'll just carpet bomb them and everything will be fine. It is just about as dumb a thing as you could possibly say, which makes sense since Hannity said it.
Exactly.
They're just sounding more and more alike. I mean, we know they connect, they chat on the phone, Trump and Hannity, but I mean, they literally are using similar words, which is really, really scary. It's super irresponsible of Hannity to say that. We know that he does these things, he says these things, but we're talking about a war. And those few seconds from his show to basically instigate the idea that we should have a war is so irresponsible from a media and journalistic standpoint, let alone the actual concept of it.
It's also bizarre. I know this is a weird point, but it's bizarre that like you get in trouble if you yell fire in a crowded theater. You get in trouble if you inspire people to riot and someone gets hurt. But you can just lie viciously to start a war, and it's totally cool. They'll pay you millions of dollars every year to do it. Like, does he? I would love for him to just. If you're hearing this, Sean, can you just acknowledge that you know that anti-air defense exists, that planes are not immune to any kind of incoming fire, that there are missiles, flak cannons, a variety of planes that Iran has? He really does seem to think that once you get above 20 feet above the ground, you are immune to any sort of counterfire.
Yeah, they feel invincible, and that kind of arrogance, you know how it ends.
Well, actually, we're gonna have a little bit more of the invincibility argument in just a second, but I want a little bit more of Hannity because Geraldo actually argues with him against the war with Iran, as you'll see.
Geraldo, they shot an American drone out of the air. They're not getting away with it.
Well, Sean, if indeed the drone was over Iranian airspace, then it's not a question of getting away with it. It's a question of self-defense.
Wait a minute. The president was very clear. We pinpointed the exact location. It's the truth.
Let's see their proof. Let's see their proof. Let the international community see their proof.
Let them see our
Truth
response.
matters here. Facts matter. We should not rush into another disastrous military conflict. How many times do we have to go down this road? How many American lives have to be lost for nothing?
You didn't listen to my monologue.
I did
What
12
did I say?
combat assignments nearby in Iraq, 12 others in Afghanistan. I've seen the suffering of our GIs in combat. At least let's prove that they were in the wrong.
Geraldo, I never said boots on the ground. I said just the opposite. And this president was clear. He does not want these foreign entanglements where young Americans, like 58,000 dead in Vietnam, and all these kids that died, they didn't even have up-armored Humvees in Iraq in the early days, door to door. Those days are over because Washington can't fight a war without politicizing it. But if you shoot an American missile or drone out of the air and you attack tankers in the Straits of Hormuz, you're going to get the living crap bombed out of you.
I mean, I know that he's stupid. I know he's a propagandist, but I love him invoking the specter of the war in Iraq to get us into a war with Iran. Does he remember who started that war? Does he remember how we were lied to begin that war? How we were specifically told that it would be easy, couple weeks, in and out, no problem. And did he support that war? Did he do hundreds or thousands of broadcasts in defense of that war?
I know who lied us.
We remember this. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, one of the guys who lied us into the Iraq war was Sean Hannity, and he's doing it right now with the Iran war. You just saw it with your own eyes. So, by the way, was the drone in Iranian waters or international waters? So the Iranians put out video of the drone parts shot down in their waters, okay? So then America said, oh yeah, we counted that with the flight plan of the drone that shows you that it was in international waters. And people looked at it and they're like, it doesn't show that at all. This is a totally incomplete flight plan, and it doesn't show that you're in international waters. What are you guys doing? If you're gonna put out something, at least have it seem like it makes your case. Possible. It was clownish as always. And so he's lying that it was in international waters, and he's lying that the Iranians bombed those ships in the first place, the Japanese and Norwegian one. Eyewitnesses completely contradict the story of the Trump administration on how those ships were bombed in the first place. Again, lying us into war.
Right. And I just found myself nodding yes to Geraldo because he's right. He's saying what we're saying in terms of like you need evidence to actually show anything. He's also not supporting a war even if there were evidence. And I think if he were given more time, given some of the things he said in the past, he would have also talked about how costly that would be in terms of lives, in terms of financing as well. And so I'm glad he was on that show. I kind of wish that he would have replaced Hannity or can in the future. That would be a good move of Fox.
So, well, that's the thing. Fox is split on this, as we're going to show you more. But so is MSNBC. I want to get to that at the end, but we got more on Fox.
Yeah. So we were talking about the invincibility, that it's just planes in the air. But an even more ridiculous and shallow version of that argument was provided, I believe, on the 5 by Greg Gutfeld.
This is now just a video game, and I think that's good news. We're now in a time where it doesn't matter how large your population is because the population is no longer expendable in war. It's now about the machines that you have. Drones are now replacing bones, Jesse. Yes, I like to do rhyming there. So it'll be stuff versus stuff. And fortunately for us, we have the best stuff. And if we have the stuff up there, doesn't matter what they have down there. We control them if we have a sky of drones. And so then how do you retaliate, right? How do you retaliate to something that isn't human? Like, they took $160 million worth of machinery from us. We have to do that, which means either hitting some parts of their navy or refineries or whatever. You find out you retaliate with machines. But I think it's good news because I think we're moving away from hurling bodies at bodies. That's a good. Can I disagree slightly? No, you can't.
Yes, you can, because there are people on the ground. There are actual humans beneath whatever could happen in airspace.
Well, we see them as humans. I'm not sure that everyone on Fox News necessarily would. I also love an argument about the hypothetical inability to shoot down a thing in a conflict begun by the fact that they shot one down. Clearly not invincible because we're talking about it right now. And but really fast, I know that people like to joke that like the level of the political discourse on The View, like how is it so influential? They don't know as much as we would like. Look at the ridiculous morons that are paid millions of dollars, not just to discuss politics, but to tell the president what to do when it comes to domestic and foreign policy.
I mean, look, Gutfeld shows you what monsters most of the right wing are. They're like, oh, just drop bombs on them. Oh, they die. Who cares? Their civilians die. Who cares? They're not even people. It's a video game to us. His whole point was, we're not going to die. They're going to die, and who cares about them? And so, but a lot of, I'm sure a lot of Republicans agree with that. So their theory is that none of our guys are going to die. But John just pointed out, wait, they shot down a drone, so maybe they could shoot down our fighters. That never occurred to them. And according to their lies, the Iranians are able to take down any tanker they like. They could mine the Japanese, the Norwegians. Guess what? They could also mine us. Right. And so now, I don't think the Iranians did that based on eyewitness testimony, but can they mine ships? Absolutely. And could they put mines in the water to take down one of our ships and kill a ton of sailors? Yes, they can, unfortunately. So these children on Fox News blabbering, and both in a monstrous way with total indifference to human life, and of course, completely fact-free.
Right.
So there was another aspect of this that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so look, I'm just gonna quickly run down all the different people who are on different sides. So, and it's topsy-turvy because Shep Smith and Chris Wallace went on Fox News as well. And I feel like Chris Wallace is egging on Trump. And so we keep telling you, even when Chris Wallace holds Republicans accountable, don't forget he's also a right winger. So he keeps saying on the air over and over again today, I don't know if Trump's got the stomach for this fight. And I don't know that he's got an appetite for this fight, I don't know. And Shep Smith said, hey, isn't he pulling an Obama and switching the red line on people? Like, you could be criticizing Donald Trump, but he's watching you guys. And now you're joining the Hannitys and the warmongers and saying, hey, if you're not gonna be weak, you better do something to Iran. And of course, Kilmeade goes on, and here, we got Kilmeade for you guys. Let's show you that real quick.
Before I do anything, Iran, let's talk a little bit. And Iran's saying, according to this Reuters story, no. We're not going to talk.
Why would we talk to them? They're blowing up tankers of our allies. They've had 7 weeks of unresponded military attacks on us and our allies. All our enemies are watching. Of course, Assad is watching. And for 7 weeks, nothing but provocations. There's a price to pay for inaction. And that says a lot. And I think that we have put suffocating sanctions on them. And every day that passes by, they get weaker. However, every day that passes by, when they blow up 4 tankers, and we do nothing. When they blow up our drone that cost $130 million and we do nothing. We know it's not going to end there. So at some point in the Middle East, no action looks like weakness, and weakness begets more attacks.
Now, look, Ainsley Earhart supported the president, supported in a weird kind of way, saying, yeah, he made the right decision. So they are mixed on Fox News, but Kilmeade and Hannity are the worst of the worst. Well, actually, Gutfeld as well, saying, oh, you're gonna be weak, you're gonna be weak. Lying about the context of the so-called attacks, and then saying we must ruthlessly attack them and murder them, otherwise we'll be seen as weak, okay? And then finally, to MSNBC, unfortunately, Stephanie Ruhle jumped in and went along with the same kind of, in my opinion, things that are egging the president on towards war by saying he's acting like Obama. This is Obama-like flip-flopping on the red line, etc. So I think it's totally irresponsible to do that. I don't think Obama did that either, but for you to egg on Trump, you can't egg him on any more than comparing him to Obama, okay? And then, to be fair, John Brennan, who drives me crazy that he's a contributor on MSNBC, in my opinion, as right-wing a Democrat as you can get as part of the national security state, has lied over and over again. But now he shocked me by saying Trump did the right thing and we should not go to war with Iran. So, and of course, Tucker Carlson saying over and over again on Fox News, do not go, it's a bad idea. And apparently he's also calling the president and telling him not to go to war with Iran. So it's a strange day in America when I agree with Tucker Carlson, John Brennan, and Donald Trump.
And Geraldo.
And Geraldo, that's right. But last thing, guys, there's a lot of progressives online who are like, in an effort to criticize Donald Trump, are backing some of the warmongers. Don't do that. That's a really, really bad idea. It's one thing to have legitimate criticism, as John did earlier in the show, pointing out the timeline doesn't make sense, etc. It's another thing to prod him going, oh, you're weak. You don't have the stomach for the fight. Ha ha. No, this is not the issue to do that. If you're a progressive, we are against idiotic wars in the Middle East that are going to get potentially millions of innocent civilians killed.
Agreed.
Yes.
Why don't we take our second break?
All right, let's take a quick break, and then there's so much more coming up. There's a piece of hypocrisy I want to cover so badly. We'll do that when we come back.